were standing on the floor of the House in August of 2008, speaking in darkened chambers that Pelosi had darkened on us when we were talking on the energy issue. 5 of us started that. Turned the lights on us, we said, well, let's go ahead anyway. No microphones. Democrat pages took the water off the tables, and we began to speak, and went on for 1 solid month. And as we spoke, the 5 of us, one guy came back from the airport. He was walking onto the plane, congressman from Texas. He heard what was going on. Somebody said, you know what's happened there in the chambers? No. He turned around, took his bag off, came back to chambers and spoke the rest of the night with us. And that's the type of courage that went on. I'm telling you that to encourage you, that there is that type of courage. And Michelle Bachmann, she's targeted #1 this year. She's not stopping speaking. Eric Cantor, wonderful leader, conservative. Tom Price, and I could go on and on. Got a guy coming in for me to speak on my behalf and speak with doctors and others. Phil Gingrey from Georgia, wonderful medical doctor, strong conservative traditional values. He will not back down. He's doing it for his kids too. So there is encouragement there, but I think we have to participate in the process. It's not fun. One more quick. Yeah, that's right. I've gone over about a half hour now. So. Yes, sir.
Well, one, I appreciate your holding these meetings. This may be too large, but how would you end the imbalance of trade with China?
Beat them at their own game. I mean, right now they are putting forward a plan to have 100 new nuclear power plants in the next 20 years. They aren't worried about air and water quality. They ought to be to some degree, but not as much as us. And so they're not worried about it. Their industrial revolution is taking place, and they're cleaning our clock in certain areas. Now we're finding out that their product that comes over here oftentimes has so much throwaway that a number of our companies are saying we're going to take the additional cost to stay American. But if we didn't put the unnecessary regulation in the way and the taxation in the way of our businesses, we would have more employment, more jobs, and we'd be able to say to China, you'd better increase your quality. You will never be able to get the contracts that we're keeping here at home. I contend it is the major problem is government in the way of us doing business. Whether it's NAFTA or CAFTA or whether it's just simply India or China, they could not compete if we didn't put the unnecessary roadblocks in the way of our employers and employees. And if the union wasn't in concert with them in many cases against their own membership, who are waking up, thankfully, and saying, wait a second, we can compete against anybody for quality. We're showing it now with our auto industry. Have a wake-up call, but nonetheless, I think that's the way we've got to go. We've got to do anything to compete. We did that before. That's how we came to the top as a small little country, brand new to the world. And we beat the socks off everybody else.
We don't think it has to do with the exchange rate between the dollars?
Well, those are things too. I co-sponsored legislation to put in place a trade prosecutor. We don't have a trade prosecutor. We've got these trade agreements, but we let the other countries off. We send our ambassador over there, but there's no real power to prosecute and to spend time looking at any, not after it's gone. With Mexico, for instance, it's a sugar treaty. They've violated for years now. We've done really nothing. If we had a trade prosecutor that was responsible for looking at that, and I'm not interested in starting a whole new department, but have an office of trade that, as a prosecutor, that says we're going to prosecute. And the law or the trade agreement said this: we've carried it out with our sugar producers. You're going to carry out, or else you're getting sanctions. The sanctions you agreed to and signed the contract with. So those are things we can do too. The yuan, the currency issue with China, we have to be more aggressive with that as well. But right now, it's hard to be aggressive when they're loaning us money.
Buy our bonds.
Because our government has grown too big and too expensive. So it all gels together, sadly in a mess. But we're Americans, we can turn it around. We did it here in Michigan, if you remember, in the 90s. Johnny Scissors Hands Engler. People were going to die in the streets. Schools were going to go to pot. We turned it around in 4 years. I co-sponsored 26 tax cuts. Proposal A, welfare to workfare. We began to see businesses come back. When I left office, there was over $1 billion surplus, a rainy day fund, and we had a AAA bond rating in the state. We got so good, then politicians in Lansing started spending it again. So these are things.